And good morning. We are live this morning from the Livingston Parish News. We are joined by Parish Councilman from District 7, Tracy Girlinghouse. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, McHugh. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Yesterday was a crazy day, thanks to production and all sorts of other stuff. We're going to run through our little traffic, weather, and then we're going to get started with you.
Outstanding.
Traffic this morning, your usual unfortunate delays at the Denham Springs exit heading I-12 west. Delays heading after the O'Neill exit, delays on 64 heading into Central, and delays on 190 at 4H Club Road. Sorry, folks, it's going to be a rough travel day for you into Baton Rouge. Do you go into Baton Rouge in the morning?
I go into Baton Rouge in the morning sometimes. Sometimes I try to leave out earlier to avoid the traffic in Denham and Lower Baton Rouge there on the interstate.
But I can understand that. I don't know how some people do it. You are stronger people than I am. Today's high 93, currently 76. You got a 20% chance of rain. So it looks like it's going to kind of get a little hot like it was that 4th of July week before Barry came through. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. High of 91 going through the weekend. Then we're going to get some scattered thunderstorms, so that should be interesting. Quick announcement, the assessor, Jeff Taylor, has started his Assess the Need campaign. That kicks off this weekend. There'll be volunteers taking donations at all the local Walmarts. Go out, some pens, pencils, backpacks, the kids that they serve. It's a great program. Need anything that you can possibly give them. We'll talk a little bit more about the things that were covered yesterday. Just in new news, there is a new episode of the Lane Hardy Show. That kid was exceedingly popular.
Absolutely.
Great entertainer, great singer, a lot of fun. So read about that. That's from David Gray. Also, Grand Country Junction has a July 20th special show this weekend on July 20th. Check that out. So today we have Mr. Girlinghouse in here. For the morning show itself, we're going to be discussing mostly the master plan that's going on. We're going to be focused on that area. He and I will be jumping into an individual podcast that's going to really dive deep into his time as a parish councilman and some of the things he's done and some of the things he's looking to do. So look for that later in the day. Remember, www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They're free, easy listening, I promise. Got a voice for radio and a face for radio too, for that matter. One thing I forgot to mention before we do jump in. There was a big announcement yesterday from Senator John Kennedy and Senator Bill Cassidy. They have introduced a bipartisan legislation in the Senate, and they have co-sponsors in the House who will be submitting the same bill for a reformation attempt and a reauthorization of the National Flood Insurance Program, which affects over 20,000 structures in the parish. So check that out. That's www.livingstonparishnews.com/news. It's $5 a month, I promise. If you're having trouble staying logged in, please give Drew a shout, drew@lpn1898.com, or give us a call at the office, 225-665-5176. Of course, you're checking us out on Facebook. We're also on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. There we go. I ran through my morning spiel. So, Mr. Girlinghouse, thank you for joining us this morning. So you were you came up and you were very vocal with the ordinance committee, with the council itself about the need for a master plan. What went through your head when you decided to push for this?
Well, first of all, I'd like to wish everyone well after Barry. It's tough to say that we were lucky. I don't want to use that word per se, but it certainly could have been a lot worse. And
yes, it could.
Having worked with the people at Homeland, Mark Carroll, and all those guys, in helping arrange, trying to get sandbags to people, trying to get people prepared for something, it was definitely a lot less than what they were expecting. But I think a bullet was dodged there to some degree, and I'm thankful for that. We still got water in my neighborhood, but I don't necessarily think there was any flooding in
We haven't had any of that reported, which is great, because we did in June 6th. A lot of, not just in Denham Springs, but in a lot of places, a lot of communities took it upon themselves. A lot of stuff on Facebook before Barry showed up of people, hey, got my grandkids out here cleaning the dishes. We found this and this, and there was a video on WAFB of a nice lady who called in. I've got a trash can in my canal behind my house, and they came and got it. So a lot of good community interaction.
Yeah, and saw a lot of people, a lot of kids and people just volunteering filling sandbags. District 4 had the central station in Walker had their act together. They were putting out sandbags and sand as fast as they could. Now, it's also important to note that our friends down at Parish Ready Mix and certain other areas, they just opened their gates and just said, "Hey, come take some sand." They didn't have sandbags, but they had plenty of sand. So I made sure that we got sandbags over to them for people could so you could get sand there. So I wanted to give a shout out to Parish Ready Mix. Those guys just really went above and beyond, left their gates open all night, and just made sure sand was there for people to take. And so that sort of charity, if you will, in the parish is that's kind of one of the things that makes this parish so great. You'd asked about when I decided to push the master plan early on. So
before we do jump into that, I do want to say, because he brought something up, there was between 500,000 and 600,000 sandbags pushed out between Denham, Walker, Parish, Livingston. They were all over the place. One of the things that officials are asking is that if your sand didn't get too wet, keep it in a nice dry space. It is usable through the rest of hurricane season, which goes through November 4th of this year. Okay, those bags are anywhere from 55 cents to 60 cents a piece. Now you can do the math on that one.
Yes.
So please try to keep those sandbags. So yes, master plan. Let's hear about it.
Well, in my mind, the master plan is multi-leveled. I think it attacks drainage and infrastructure issues, sewer, water flow, and just really has an overview of where in the future we can put new roads. I don't think we had a new road I saw somewhere in 100 years, actual new road put down.
Right.
So basically, we're traveling on the same roads, either overlaid, widened, or extended for almost a century. So it would be nice to be in a position to where we could figure out a way to put down new avenues to move people through the parish. I believe the parish has tried to attack it in the issues as kind of like you go around, you putting out little fires as they occur. We have a drainage problem. We have a huge drainage problem. There's no doubt about it. But we also have in certain parts of the parish, Walker and Denham Springs and Watson, we have an overdevelopment problem. I think you have a sense where you build more houses than the roads can handle, which is a strain on the roads, the drainage, the sewer. So all those issues that we have, sewer, infrastructure, drainage, those are all kind of intimately connected. So if you address the infrastructure issue, you at that point you can address you're kind of addressing the drainage issue. And there are issues we have to get on top of. I just don't feel like we have a clear path to get on top of these things. The master plan will allow us to be overall goal oriented. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Even if we implemented it today in the strongest sense that that I want. I mean, there's certain things I want to be strong, and because we have to change. We have to change the way we've been doing business. We have to change the way we've been doing our building practices, our governmental practices. We have to change, and change is a scary thing. People are afraid of change, But I do know this. Yeah, I've lived here 50 years, my entire life, and you have this mindset where you want things to be the way they were. Certainly, things were a lot, calmer and more peaceful, and I won't use the word lazy, but you just kind of had more of a lazy approach to life, in the sense where you can get up and do this and, you know, take your time doing this. Well, life is faster now, you know, everything comes at you a lot faster. So we can't be afraid to change. You know, change can be a good thing, and it will be a good thing for us. You know, we just have to have the courage to step forward and change the things. Because if you don't, like the saying goes, if you keep doing things the same way, you know, and you don't, and you expect a different result.
It's the definition of insanity.
It is indeed. And at some point, sometimes I feel like that it's, you know, insane. You know, the way things are being handled here. So, you know, we got to have the leaders to have the courage to step forward and do some things that are controversial. And you know, I'm ready to do that. You know, and I believe we have several other council members that are ready to go forward with that as well.
Well, it does indeed seem that way. You mentioned a couple of things that I want to dive into.
Okay.
You said there were some things that you strongly want.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. I believe that we need to zone every square inch of this parish. Now, whether it be, it's kind of a tale of two parishes, Livingston is, and it's one of the great things about it. You know, the southern eastern or central part of the parish is a different world than the lower, you know, the western part of the parish, Watson, Denham, Walker, you know, and to some degree even like Livingston.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a different world than the lower part where the, you know, the lakes are, and, you know, the Marpaws, the Springfields, the Killians, the Port Vincents, the French settlements are. You know, they kind of don't have the development we have. They don't have the development issues, you know, that come with mass influx of people. You know, so, you know, on the council you have people representing these areas, as well they should.
Yeah.
You know, to me, zoning itself was at the forefront of my mind when it comes to the master plan, because of I feel the overdevelopment of my district. You know,
right.
So, you know, and to fix this, to empower the parish council to go in and say, you know, this development is going to put too many cars on this narrow road. You know, there's a huge development that wants to go in on Duff Road. Duff Road is it's a narrow road. It's hard for two cars to get by each other.
Yeah.
You know, and now they're going to dump 300, you know, close to 300 new houses on it, or they want to.
Yeah.
They want to, and you talk, that's a minimum 600 cars twice a day.
Right.
Minimum.
Right.
You know, and the parish council doesn't have we can set these ordinances down and say, you got to meet this, you got to meet this, you got to meet this, you got to meet this. And if they meet those things, we can't stop them.
Right.
Zoning, if you zone that area, it kind of gives you more of an umbrella of authority, where you can look, you know, you can just look at it and go, and you know, I can drive anybody out there. I challenge them, and you get on Duff Road, you know, and you watch the traffic and the travel on it, and it doesn't take long to go, that's not a good idea. That's not feasible. That's not, you know, it just shouldn't happen. That's my opinion. I wish I had the authority, or the parish council had the authority, to look at the overall and just go, no, not until we improve the, you know, the roads there, or get more entrances or exits, or just something that makes sense. Because right now it doesn't make sense, and we're more or less powerless to stop it.
Right.
You know, so instead of setting out guidelines, this kind of gives you more of an overall authority to look at the situation in reality, in real time, and go, no.
Right. So you're trying to look at it in real time, but time is something that you did mention, that this will take time. Let's talk about what's happened so far with the master plan committee, starting with, well, just little background. There was a master plan committee before. The current chairman, Gerald Burns, was the chairman of that committee. And the parish council in 2013 passed and adopted a master plan that was never implemented. So starting there and moving to today, bring us up to speed with how the master plan committee of today has done what they've done, and where they intend to go.
Well, the master plan committee is composed of who essentially gave almost every councilman, we got 7 of the 9, their own pick for the master plan committee. 2 of us didn't take one. I didn't take one because we wanted to give one to the parish president, a member, and we wanted to give one to planning. So we kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone, because we just said we'll let Gerald Burns, you know, he happens to be my appointment to planning. He's on the planning committee, and I said, well, you know, he would be my choice anyway. I mean, he's probably forgot more about the original plan than most people will ever know, and you know, and he is my, I would like him on there. He also happens to be on planning, so I just said, well, he can kind of be both of ours. We'll let him be planning's, but he'll be mine. And I think Mr. Talbert just said, you know, we'll let the other people have, and nine is enough, you know. And so you get that many people on one committee, and I had originally said, and I sat down with each one of the council members who were appointing someone, and I said, look, this isn't a committee that's going to decide whether we should have a master plan. I mean, I need somebody who's going in to say, we're definitely going to have one. How are we going to implement it? How are we going to structure it? The original master plan is insufficient by today's standards. I mean, you know, if we went and adopted it today, it would do very little to fix the issues being, you know, drainage, zoning, and zoning. I keep saying zoning because zoning is a catalyst to fixing everything from the beginning. You know, you can control how things are built. A lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about zoning because they hear a lot of bad things. If you don't have to zone everything, you know, super strict. You know, the lower end of the parish where they have, you know, big chunks of land, and the people want to do, you can just zone it rural. Essentially, the difference between zoning rural and the way it is now is the title.
Right.
You know, you just have the title, but it also allows you to later on, when development reaches you out there and your city becomes more of a hustle bustle, that area, you can go in and rezone it a certain area, you know, from rural to, you know, commercial or residential commercial or industrial, you know, however you want to do it. You can block off an area and allow you to group your areas together instead of just, you know, chaos.
Right.
Because outside the municipalities that are zoned, it's chaos. You know, I mean, and it really is. And it's not that you want to take rights away from people, but you know, the same person who doesn't want their rights taken away is the same one that'll tell you they don't want their neighbor to do something. Gerald Burns said something a while back that I'm not quite sure. He was just saying, he said you could have a dynamite factory next to a daycare right now. You know, I'm not sure that's necessarily true, but the point is, you know, you can build anything next to anything, more or less, outside the municipalities because there's no restrictions to stop you from doing so. Right. And so over time, it's just kind of become a hodgepodge of development. You know, right. Zoning will straighten that out to some degree. You know, but really, for my end of the parish, that was the reason why I brought it in, because we have to control how development is being done. It's crippling us, you know. And I'll say in Walker, Denham, I feel like it is. It'll be that way in Watson soon, you know. But it's you know, it's crippling us, infrastructure wise, drainage wise, sewer wise, and the intangible, but it's also there, the school systems. You know, I think I read in your paper a few months back that we're talking about the increase from 2010 to 2017. I might be a little off on this, but you know, it was in your paper, so that's right. That's my source. Okay. And it said that, you know, the increase of students from 2010 to 2017 was this number, and it was a huge number of people that had moved in, and over half that number was in the Walker school system. I mean, in the Walker school systems, that tells you that our area is growing at a much faster rate, not only than these other areas, like not only our close areas, but the areas, certainly the areas out on the east. But we can't continue to dictate our pace at the normal rhythm. We have to get ahead of these things.
Right.
The master plan is the best way to get ahead of it and have a new platform in which to build.
Right. Those numbers that he's discussing, after Katrina there was an uptick, but after 2010 growth was relatively exponential. Between 2007 and 2015, we picked up roughly 40,000 new people in the parish. So just to couch those numbers for you. So far we're there's been a couple of meetings. One meeting, quorum was missed, but otherwise had a couple of meetings, had some discussions. What's next? What's next for this committee?
Well, let me address the first two. The first meeting, it was more just trying to gather information on where to go forward, and I felt like that it was somewhat fruitful. You can't expect a lot out of the first meeting. They come in. The second meeting, there was a quorum missed. That's unacceptable. I mean, yeah, but that's also one of the issues about having 9 people. Mm-hmm. It seems the higher number you get, the higher number you need to actually show up to to have a quorum. And you can't have a meeting without a quorum. Mm-hmm. You can't really even discuss anything. It becomes dangerous. Mm-hmm. What's illegal, and it just becomes dangerous. You kind of have to just walk away. I don't know what occurred. For the people on the other people's appointments. I take it, and I think they take it seriously. I don't know what happened there. Third meeting, everything was, I think, kind of hinged around Mark Harrell being there. Or Mark had surgery, mm-hmm. and he's been fighting for getting better. It was serious surgery, so I'll certainly give him a pass. Mm-hmm. He's sure. But they managed to have a meeting anyway, and it was more or less fruitful. It could have been a lot better, but it certainly could have been. It could have been worse. That some information was getting gotten or gleaned from it. I know I have the utmost confidence in Mr. Burns. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm going to his house. He has charts and he had those way before. When I first appointed him, I went to his house to meet with him, and it's amazing how he just lives this stuff constantly. We don't always agree on everything, but I do agree with his zeal and his approach, and sometimes we agree to disagree. But I never require any. You follow what I say and what I do out of any of my appointments. But for the most part, he's on board with that. I think it comes down to money. We need the money. The original master plan, even though it was outdated, a lot of that information can still be used. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of stuff we don't have to go out and get. We have with the original plan. Right. But there is going to be some money needed, which we will get. Mark Harrell tells me he's fairly sure he can get the money in a form of a grant, which is the way the original was. The original was mostly grant money. So, mm-hmm. But this is a must. This will be my push. If I'm fortunate enough to be reelected, to make happen. You get this in place, then we can begin to structure our community in a way that makes sense. Right. Be it zoning via, you can start working on the drainage. You start working on the sewer. The sewer is an issue that's very important, but certainly drainage and traffic and infrastructure to me they're above that. And that's just my mindset. I'm more worried about not whenever I sit in my house and it starts raining hard, is water going to come up? Is it going to get in my house? Is it going to get in my neighbor's house? I have that stress level too. Right. I get it. I do. So ultimately, yes, to answer your question, I'm disappointed at the pace. Some of it couldn't be helped. Some of it could have been.
Sure.
But I'm going to give a benefit of the doubt for the time being. We'll move forward. It will move forward at this, going forward at a decent pace, or some action will be taken. It's a very important job we're asking these people for no pay.
Sure.
And that's the thing. But at the end of the day, that responsibility falls on us, the parish council, and if we have to take it back. I mean, I haven't spoken with any other councilors, but if we have to take it back, we will.
Right.
Because I'm not going to sit around and let this just linger. This isn't one of those things that can, but I'm confident that, that it'll move forward. Mr. Burns will push and make it go forward, and we'll get the money for him, either by a grant or we'll just figure it out,
Mr. Girlinghouse is actually the chairman of the finance committee too.
And indeed.
So if he says he's going to find the money, he's going to find the money.
I will find the money.
Well, sir, thank you for sitting down with us and talking with us about the master plan. You're confident in Mr. Burns. It sounds like in August they're going to have LEDC in the chamber come talk, because a big focus for Mr. Burns is the economic corridor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to try to get Mark Carroll back on the
Yes.
agenda as well. So it should be a packed meeting. That is August 4th. It's a Tuesday. We'll be there. And again.
And I was going to say, I would like more people to come. I understand, it's it is in the middle of the week, and, it's tough to get away. But that's one thing that the council needs in general, is just support. If you're for something, come. If you're against it, come. But, your presence in the room and your voice does impact this council. It does impact how they vote. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to see how people feel, outside of the people in the room. And typically people only come when they were against something. If you're against something, you'll come and you'll voice your, and you feel that vibe in the room. But it's nice when people come and support your stance or your approach to something, because that kind of allows the people who are against it to see that there are people out there that are against what you're doing, and there's people out there who are for what you're doing. So I encourage everyone to come. I would love it to be packed every time. I know that's probably not going to happen, but come and support your councilman. Yeah. And I say that for me, and even the people who I'm against at that moment. Come and support your councilman, because input is never bad.
No, it's not. General feedback is always useful.
Absolutely.
Again, Mr. Girlinghouse, thank you for joining us. He and I are going to take a short break after this show, and then we're going to jump in on a podcast where we're going to be really diving deep. We will rediscuss the master plan, but we're also going to be discussing a lot of things you're doing as a councilman. Just a couple of facts. 5,400 households in Mr. Girlinghouse's district, a population of about 16,000, so representing plenty of people.
Yes.
Quite a few people, actually. And we have a census coming up, so there might be some redistricting.
Well, there will be redistricting, but, I feel geographically, looking at the numbers and how things are falling out, I feel my district's probably going to shrink down.
Yeah.
Just geographically speaking, it's going to shrink. I think Mr. Wascom's district, a lot of the people left after 2016, and for whatever reason didn't return.
Right.
My district, on the other hand, has grown.
Right.
And so, when they look at those numbers census-wise, they're going to have to do some adjustment.
Yeah.
His area is going to have to grow. My area is going to have to shrink. You just move people around and or move the districts around in order where you can get a total number of people even for each district.
Right.
So.
And yes, there will be a lot of shifting. Please fill out your census. We've been running ads for them, and that census will begin in next year, census 2020.
Yep.
Again, this if you're interested in any of the things that we talked about and want to re-listen to this, we will process it and it will be uploaded www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. It's free. You can go back, listen to it in its entirety. We've been talking for half an hour.
Wow.
Not bad. Again, to cover your traffic this morning, got a little worse out there, folks. I do apologize. Usually I only talk for 10 minutes, and it really hadn't changed much. Delays backing up to Juban now on I-12 going west. Delays from Airline back to Sherwood, again heading west, and now 10-12 split. Looks to be at a near standstill. Delays have eased up on 64 heading into Central, not as bad. And Denham Springs going through or past 4-H Club Road appear to be pretty clear. At this point, your weather, still 76 degrees Fahrenheit, jacked up the high to 93, 20% chance of rain. Yeah, it's probably going to be, 93 degrees is your high, but with your heat index, it feels like 101.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a warm one out there, folks. Please take care of yourself. Again, my name is McHugh David. I am publisher and editor of the news. Thank you, District 7 Councilman Tracy Girlinghouse, for joining us this morning. And again, he and I will be jumping into a long-form podcast here in a bit. You'll find that this afternoon. Thanks again for joining us.